was your take back then on training to failure?
When I would get to, let's say, the last couple of sets of an exercise, we're going to failure. Yeah.
And the sets prior to that, were they just close to failure or were they just warm-ups?
Well, some
Close.
warm ups and some close. I tended to do a lot of warm up sets because throughout my athletic career, even starting as a freshman in high school, I was always kind of vulnerable to muscle strains and muscle tears, and then,
Mm,
two tendon ruptures. So I spent a considerable number of sets warming up. I didn't hold back on that.
okay. So just until you felt ready basically to go for the hard sets, you would
Yeah.
acclimate upwards appropriately.
Yeah. For example, doing leg presses, I would generally start on, like the 45-degree angled leg press, two plates on each side, and do sets of 20. And just each set, we'd add another plate, add another plate, add another plate. And, quite often go up to easily 800 to 1,000 pounds
So
of
that took a
plates.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you this. How many sets would you say back then were you doing per body part per week? Because you were training each muscle once per week at that point, because you were doing the 3 days per week split, right? And hard sets, not counting the warm ups, would you say on average you were doing per week? So, like, let's take chest, for example, directly, not overlap.
Right. Hard sets, I would say like generally three, not counting the warm up sets.
Now, is that per exercise or just in total for that muscle group?
Well, like let's say I was working chest, after bench press, I did not need much warm up on incline, maybe one set of warm up on incline, and like pec fly machine. A lot of times I didn't need any warm up.
So you're looking at maybe like 9 hard sets for your chest a week.
Yes. You have to have a good spotter.
A good spotter, right? Especially for like the bench pressing, squatting, right?
Yeah.
People think that they need to train body parts multiple times per week. What's your take on that? Because you weren't doing that and you were actually growing just fine on training body parts once per week, right?
Well, yeah, but I'll have to say that there were times when I felt that something was lagging. So I would do a second workout for that muscle group, but not like as intense as what I did for my, main workout for that group. Get a good pump and, call it a day. Not destroying the muscle like I did on, the main workout of the week.
What were some of the landmarks you were looking for to make progress? Because you mentioned training to failure, you would do like 1 set to failure per exercise, like it was like the last set or two, basically.
Yeah, anywhere from 1 to 3 sets to failure, just
For
depending
that,
on how I felt the day, how things were going.
Gotcha. Now, of course, you mentioned that you naturally were someone who just trained hard given your history, right? As a track athlete
Yeah.
and maybe personality wise too. I think that's a big thing. But were you focused on adding load over time, reps over time from workout to workout? Was that important to you?
Yeah, one of the things that I recommend to people, and I think I wrote a column on this for Ironman magazine, is keeping a training log. Recording everything in terms of your weights, your sets, your reps, and a couple of ways of using that. And I use it for motivation. Is I would look back. Let's say I'm training chest. I look back at the previous week and see how many reps I did at a given weight, and even if I could get 1 or 2 more reps, 1 or 2, 3 more reps in the entire chest workout, that was progress. Or go up in weight and try to match the reps. That was a tool that I used throughout my career, is keeping those training logs. And the other way that I used it was, I had these major setbacks like the bicep tendon rupture and the hamstring tendon rupture, and I'm working my way back. I could look back 6 months or a year previous and go, okay, here I am now. Here's where I was. And am I getting back to full strength, and use my training logs that way? I think the training log is an extremely, extremely important tool for bodybuilding.
Let's get an example for the listeners. Like, let's say you were doing, I don't know, flat dumbbell press. That's your first chest exercise. Did you have like a rep range? And then when you hit the top of that rep range, you'd add load and go to the bottom of that rep range? Was that like a typical progression you do? Like, how did you typically do this?
Yeah, I'd have a rep range that I wanted to hit, and I do my warm up sets, and I'm working on my hard sets. I'm working my way up, and let's say my goal was 10 reps at a given weight, and I get 10 relatively easily. Then at that point, I would either, on the sets where I'm going to failure, I would either go for more reps or I'd add weight. I tell my clients, I got a rule of thumb when they say, when do you know when to add weight? Well, in your rep range, when it gets easy, add weight, make it harder again.
At this point, you were obviously sliding on rest days between workouts. So do you think that training back to back can hinder your recovery for the workout the next day? Like if you're training, like for example, even if it's opposing muscle groups, because I have my own experience with it, but I'd be curious if that was also the thought process there with sliding and rest days.